She definitely said 8 PM, right?
Yeah, that's what I've got written here.
I guess we'll just wait a little longer. I'm sure she'll turn up.
Well, seeing as you're here, I might as well show you what I'm doing. I am making potions, and for my potions I need zombie brains, obviously, and I have run out, so I'm going to make them, and they're really, really easy, so why don't you watch them and see how it's done. Firstly, everyone knows that zombie brains have a crispy outer shell, and that is why it is impossible to communicate with them. So I have to make them myself, and first of all, I'm going to make the mold. And I have here a mini cupcake pan, just a straight up mini cupcake pan. They need to be small because also everyone knows that zombie brains are tiny, because once they go through their transition, their once human brain shrinks to like 1/10 of its normal size, which is also why they're so slow and stupid. So I've got my mini cupcake pan here, and I have some little squares of tin foil, and with the kind of shiny side down, I'm going to cover some of these little bobbles with those. Now, the first ingredient of zombie brains is troll spit. I have a really, really good supplier near me who has this, but it is very hard to come by, as you can imagine. So I've got 70 grams in here, but if you can't get hold of any troll spit, you can use about 2 large free-range egg whites. It does a similar thing, but it's not quite the same. And I'm mixing it in my mixer with a balloon whisk, and when bubbles start to form, I'm going to turn it up to quite a high speed, and then add some other stuff. Right, my troll spit has grown, it's white, it's quite stiff, so it's now time to add some bone shavings. Now, this is quite hard to come by this time of year because it's Halloween, and so everyone wants bone shavings. So if you can't find bone shavings, you can use caster sugar. Again, it's not ideal, but it will do the same thing. And I have 140 grams of that. I'm just going to shuffle that in really slowly, just a little bit at a time. So when your bone shavings are all in, just leave that mixing on quite a high speed. It's going to go stiff and glossy, and it's going to be perfect for zombie brains. Okay, that is the perfect consistency for brains. As you can see, it's really stiff. And so it's time to go with it. And I have a small piping bag here. And into that piping bag, I've put a little nozzle. It's just a round nozzle, and I'm going to paint into my piping bag with beetle blood. Now, you can use the blood of pretty much any insect for this, but if you get a bit grossed out by that, you can use, at a pinch, red food colouring, but obviously beetle blood is the ideal thing. And once there's enough blood in your bag, just scoop some of your white goo into it. I am going to start at the bottom of all of my little foil bumps, and I'm going to carefully pipe a neat line all around. So once I've got a circle, I'm going to wiggle from the back to the front, right across the middle. And that's 1/2 of a zombie brain. Okay, I'm going to keep going until I've got like 24. And now it's time to bake my brains at 120 degrees C for half an hour, and then I'm going to turn the oven off and leave them in there for 15 minutes. So on to the next bit. Now, everyone knows that zombie brains are filled with pus and goo because when they have to change, the normal brain just kind of disintegrates. So I am going to fill my brains with this. It is toad bile, and I have about 400 millilitres. Just going to put that into a bowl. And to that, I'm going to add 50 grams of my bone shavings, which I have just to sweeten it up a little bit. Now, if you haven't got toad bile, you can use double cream, and if you've run out of bone shavings, then you can use caster sugar. So I'm just going to whisk these up until they're a nice, floppy, soft peak. So that is just right. See how this toad bile whips up? It's so dreamy. I'm going to put it into a piping bag. So now I just need my zombie brains back, and it's time to fill them. So when you're peeling off your foil, you've got to be very, very careful. And so I'm just going to pipe a blob of this. And then into that little hole, put some pulverised goat kidneys, which is delicious. If you don't have goat's kidneys, you can use raspberry goo, raspberry jam, something similar. And if you want to learn how to make that, you can click on a link from a previous video. And now all that remains is to stick the two halves together to form a perfect, delicious zombie brain. And now just keep going until you've filled up all your zombie brains. Well, there they are, the finished brains, and these are so useful for a variety of spells and potions. But to be quite honest, they are also really tasty, so I just like to have a nibble on them every now and then. But a word of warning, if you have used all the correct ingredients, every single one of them, then do not eat more than 3. Just don't. It's going to be dangerous. Right, well, it is the busiest night of the year. I have potions to make and spells to cast, curses to put on people, so I better get on with it. I will be back this Thursday with a recipe video, and until then, have a happy Halloween.